And now let's talk about the two mini cases at the end of the chapter in this on global marketing in the textbook. And I wanted to just mention these two mini cases, Domino's Global Marketing and Burberry. And I even have you see here the specific page numbers for these mini cases. And I urge you to look at them. They're very short and they have a list of questions. And here are the questions. I provided them for you. And these are related to concepts on marketing that we've talked about and that you had read about in the chapter. So for the Domino's, I think this is a very interesting thing because Domino's, of course, is famous for its home delivery model where you can just call them up or order online and you get a pizza very quickly from Domino's. And, in some countries that may not be the norm, right? Maybe people are used to going somewhere, sitting down, eating a more leisurely kind of eating situation. And so should Domino's, when it enters foreign markets, stick to that home delivery model that it's famous for in the United States, or should it, change how it does things? And so these are the kind of key things that a company needs to think about when it's entering these foreign markets. And I think you can see there's a discussion about that in the case. And I don't want to just kind of give it all away here. We can discuss it on Yellow Dig. But how does Domino's accommodate local differences in consumer tastes and preferences? And I see, of course, you see the different sort of pizza that is offered, the different marketing mix for Domino's. For example, in Japan, we see that they have to offer a completely different kind of product. The characteristics of the product have to be very different in Japan. There has to be much more luxury kind of things on top of the pizza. And so the promotional strategy might be very different. These big PR events, as mentioned in the mini case, can be very effective in Japan. And so these are some things, the 4 Ps is what they're talking about when we talk about the marketing mix. So we can talk about that in the Yellow Dig discussion. And then finally, what are some lessons from this case for other consumer goods companies that are expanding internationally? So these are some things to think about. We'll talk about that and the Yellow Dig discussion. And then Burberry, a very interesting company based in UK, of course. And Burberry, a very high-end brand. They're famous for the sort of check pattern. They, produce a lot of raincoats, of course, very popular in London, where they came from. And they're famous for the very kind of the plaid, check pattern. And so what was happening, though, is that Burberry was introducing a whole lot of new products, and it seemed to be all over the place. And a new CEO, and I'm not exactly sure how to say her name, Angela Ahrendts, I think is the way to say her name, said we're going to centralize this in a more effective way. We're going to keep kind of monitor what's going on. We don't want people copying some of what we're doing. We don't want to hurt the image of Burberry. It's a very high-end sort of clothing company. So we want to make sure that we are very careful about the brand, how people perceive this product, right? And so that's a very important part of what she did. So we can talk some more, debate her strategy. There's interesting things about how the check pattern, that plaid pattern, became less of a marketing focus as time went on for Burberry. And why did they do that? And so why did they make a decision like that? Was it just getting too much? Was it cheapening the brand? They wanted, again, to keep this very high-end sort of brand and target. And so this is a key concept. The target market was very important in these kinds of decisions. So that's something that you can notice in that mini case and talk about on Yellow Dig. And then I think this is the kind of thing that in your group projects I want you to be thinking about. Is it time for Burberry now maybe to change its strategy? It's been focusing on just a few key wealthy cities where there's very fashion-conscious, affluent customers to buy its kind of products. Is it time, for example, to Burberry to move beyond, those core 25 wealthy cities? Maybe they should put a Burberry store in Iowa of the United States or Oklahoma or some other place where, outside of just, London or New York City or these huge fashion-conscious capitals. Maybe it's time to start thinking of moving beyond that. So should Burberry also, this is another key question, right, that's relevant in our new age that we're in today. Should they be focusing only on brick and mortar stores, or should they focus exclusively on online? Or should they move only to online? Or is it important to have some kind of high-end clothing stores, as they recently opened a very expensive high-end clothing store in London? It's important for people to kind of get the feeling of this high-end clothing, and then maybe they go and buy it online. Or is it silly to have brick and mortar stores in this day and age? So these are some of the questions that we can discuss further, and do look at the many cases. I think they're very interesting, and deal with some concepts that we have talked about in this course. So that's what I wanted to cover on global marketing, and please feel free to email me with any questions, and we'll be discussing this in detail, in more depth on Yellow Dig.